Hello and welcome, this is Rooflemonger. So today we're going to be making a tips and tricks guide for Ironman. So as always, going to be covering command normal, special moves, and super moves. Going to be covering some general game plan and just some general quirks that he has. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So our first command normal we're going to talk about is the arm missile, and that is forward and fierce punch. So in and of itself, you can obviously tell it's a projectile, and as such, as a normal projectile, also has the same drawbacks in that an opponent can push block it if their timing is fast enough. But other than that, so it does respectable damage. It does about 700, and one of the main things here that makes this, have any use, because if it was just this and nothing else, it wouldn't be that useful. It is special cancelable, so you can do something like go into it and immediately go into a unibeam, or say more importantly, do it and go right into a flight. And get a little bit of offense like that, and especially say if the foe is in or near the corner, you can do it, and that's a little bit of instant overhead pressure, and going from there. So in and of itself, it's like not the tool to set up, the offense in and of itself, but it's a tool to set up the next step of the offense. Either laming people out, just trying to go for that into unibeam, but generally the main use on the ground, anyways, cancel in the fly while having a bit of a projectile distraction on the more linear playground. So you can be flying and do whatever you need to do from there. Next up we have Focus Shot. Now these are actually kind of spin-offs of his main jumping fierce punch. So for Focus Shot, you hold either up or down while you're already jumping, and it'll angle your fierce punch thusly. So if you hold up, you're going to shoot upwards, and if you hold down, you're going to shoot downwards. Now if you are in the air, keep in mind here, so if we did jump HK for every character that spikes down the ground, much the same for jumping down fierce punch. For Ironman, that also causes the same ground spike as a jumping fierce kick would. Just FYI, so you don't, end your combo with it and get a potential ground bounce we're not looking for. Now that said, and this is the same for the regular fierce punch as well, what makes these pretty handy, especially as a bit of a offensive option, is they have what we call a disjointed hitbox. So this move hits, at the range of the beam, to be sure, but the beam itself does not have a hitbox. So you can hit someone and where that beam is, but they can't hit you back. They actually have to hit Ironman properly to get a hit in. So if you can angle it just correctly, you can get, a very decent air dash offense in that is actually somewhat difficult to anti-air or deal with versus, someone could just meet you in the air and jump jab. But with this, they're actually going to get hit by the Focus Shot first. So it is something just to keep in mind with it. Moving on to our special moves. First up we have Unibeam. This is an Ironman classic. So it comes in light and heavy versions, and heavy Unibeam is in contention for the best beam in the game. So as with all beams, it does have the nerf where the further you are out, the less damage it's going to do, and we'll just turn on damage values right now so you can see. The heavy punch version actually retains some damage from full screen. That'd be just like Ryu's charged Hadouken beam. And if it's up close, it actually does very impressive damage. You can see here, 1650. It's quite high. The light punch version does respectable-ish damage up close. You can see here, though, the further you are out, it's going to lose some damage. And from full screen, the move's like, nothing more than tickling your opponent. It does basically nothing. But the beam has very high durability, especially the heavy punch version. It basically crushes almost any other kind of projectile, including most other beams. So that is its main use, in that he really owns the linear part of the screen here with the beam, and he can do it in the air too, so much the same here. And it is also affected by the Tiger Knee trick, so you can do a Tiger Knee trick to do it while ascending, or just do it normally, say, off a jump and falling down while descending. So overall, it's a decent beam. It's one of the few beams worth doing from anything other than like mid-screen, because 570 is not a lot. But compared to what most beams get from full screen, it's usually something more like that. So it's something, and like I said, it crushes pretty much all projectiles flat out. Like even back when Gomorrah's pistol shots were bugged, Ironman's fierce beam still beat him. So that should tell you how durable this projectile is. Next up we have the repulsor rays, and these are an interesting move here. So it is quarter circle forward, light kick, light kick, light kick, or heavy kick, heavy kick, heavy kick. And they have quite a bit of decent range, so both these moves are air-okay. The light kick version will have Ironman sweeping downwards, while the heavy kick version will have him sweeping upwards. Now, one thing to say about this, I know footsies as general term doesn't exist in Marvel quite like it does in Street Fighter or anything, but this, if you want to use this as a footsies tool, this actually is quite a decent tool, as you can see here. It eats up a lot of the screen here. Foes are going to have some difficulty getting around it, and I can say much the same about the grounded heavy kick version here. As see here, it owns quite a bit of the screen right in front of a character. Now, I'm not saying you should always fish for this. This isn't like some Ryu crouch medium kick into fireball situation where this is what you want to keep doing. But this move, as see here, that's some decent range, and you get to convert into combos from it. This is a heavy kick specifically version on the ground. The light kick version, it creates a ground OK OTG state. However, if you're a little bit too far away, it can be a little bit difficult to convert. Overall, I gotta say these moves, generally, you're gonna see them 99% of the time in combo enders, or somewhere in a combo, but I can tell you, they do have value and they do have worth in the neutral. The fact, like, you gotta, work with what you have, so you want to usually use the light kick versions in the air, and the heavy kick versions on the ground. I would not suggest using the heavy kick versions on the ground against, say, like a Rocket Raccoon or an X, because it's just gonna go plumb over their head. But these moves, especially just with the sweeping advance on the aerial light kick version, it's really handy. I'm actually quite impressed with the move. And like I said, if you are close enough, you get a conversion off the light kick version. So, full combos, can't be argued. Our next move to talk about here is the Smart Mine. This is a new addition to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It is done with quarter circle back and 1 2 punches. The light punch version shoots out a closer mine. The heavy punch version shoots out a mine that's further out. Now, you are allowed to have 2 of these on screen at the same time. If you shoot out a third one, the third one will just auto-detonate the current oldest mine out there. So this mine will detonate after a set amount of time, or if the enemy walks into its trajectory, and if they do, it'll explode. And also, it is just a proper projectile, so it'll hit them proper, it'll explode. So this move is air okay, as you can see here, and the grounded version still has them jump in the air. And now there's one really handy trick with that, in that as you land, you're neutral in the air, so you still have some control, so you can do stuff like, as see here, I'm hitting light kick in the air. So you can use it to overhead your foe if they're coming in or what have you. And still from that, you have total control, you can dash, you can cancel on the fly, whatever. So even though you're falling to the ground, you still have control over your character and you can do whatever you want. Now, one thing to note here, and let's go in the corner here, these moves count as grenades as far as wall bouncing goes. So if it hits the wall, it's going to bounce off the wall and land. Now if it's done very high up, it'll still deploy as the mine, so it won't just follow the ground all the way through. One handy trick here is if they're even like a smidge out of the corner, these now hit as cross up. Now if they're all the way in the corner, most of the characters, there's always some weird hitboxing with hitting people cross up when they're all the way in the corner, but for the most part, you're not going to be able to get real cross ups, but if it's in 1 pixel out of the corner, then all of a sudden you can get some tricky cross up stuff. And our final special move is that he can fly like many other characters in this game. So it's just quarter circle back and 2 kicks, and he flies. Now, one thing, and I made a whole video about this previously, but Iron Man's fly is a bit different in that his pass box, while he's flying, is a bit higher up than everyone else, so he can just pass through a lot of standing characters. Most other characters that can fly, they cannot do this, but for Iron Man, it's not a big deal. He can just completely pass through standing characters, and even like tall characters like Hulk or something. Like, he can just walk right through them, and that's it. So with this in mind, you can kind of create little setups here where you can just pass through and cross the opponent up or whatever. There's a lot of possibilities and a lot of tricks when it comes to this situation. On to supers, we have Proton Cannon. It comes in 2 versions. Quarter circle forward both punches, and quarter circle forward both kicks. And that's more of an anti-air angled version. Now, as with all beams, the closer you are, the more damage it's going to do. So let's see here. We'll do it in the corner just to see the maximum damage. And does 4,000, which is high for a level 1. Now, however, any amount of spacing past that, even if we're close up but we're not in the corner, and see here, damage drops dramatically from there. So its main use is obviously, it's your only level 1 combo ender, so if you're going to end the combo, you're going to do with that, and hopefully in the corner to get the maximum damage out of it. But it is one of the better, just, kind of like see you later, tag out supers. You just do it, tag out, and you got this giant beam while your opponent, your tag partner rather, can just do whatever they want, and the opponent just has to groove on it because it eats so much of the screen. The move is so huge, and like as shown here, You can even tag out before it super starts proper, and you can just kind of get your offense from there, and it's very difficult for the opponent to get anything going, because if they try anything, they're going to get hit by the beam. So in that regard, it's pretty handy. So it's basically a lockdown for 1 bar, and you get a couple of free mix-up attempts while the opponent is locked down. And finally, our level 3, that's Iron Avenger. Now, generally, if you watch any amount of these guys, they usually complain, you know, level 3 is invincible, but that's it. It's not a thing out of the ordinary. One thing I'll give Iron Avenger over most of the other level 3s is the range is full screen. Now, it's invincible startup, and that invincibility does not start, rather, does not last the whole screen, so don't get me wrong. You can't just do it anywhere, but at least from a decent range, you can use it as a reactionary move if you catch like a bad special attempt or just something very obvious and very, you know, silly, like, you know, a proper, like another Iron Man just tried to proton cannon you from full screen or something. You can at least reactionary level 3 that on, well, on wild reaction, I guess, and go from there. So the fact it has some range saves it from being either just wake up or combo fodder like a lot of other level 3s. And now just to talk about some of his game plan in general, I feel Iron Man is a much more straightforward character than a lot of the cast. That kind of has to do with the fact that he has a lot of his legacy moveset intact, and I do want to mention some stuff. So he's an 8-way air dash character, so he can do all that kind of stuff, but however, a lot of his better buttons off a dash, like a jump light kick or a jump fierce kick, he can't really get much of a tri-jump offense off him unless you really let that jump float and, like, you know, really let it breathe. Because if you try to do it as fast as possible, the jumping light kick cannot come out fast enough. You see here, like, the animation's starting, but it's not connecting. So you really got to let that jump breathe before you try to do something like that. The jumping light punch does come out quicker than the jumping light kick, so you can get a little bit closer to the ground than the jumping light kick. However, your combo opportunities are a bit lesser after that because it doesn't have as much hit stun as the jumping light kick. Jumping light kick, you can kind of easily go into jumping light kick, into a jab or whatever, and much the same with the jumping light punch. However, you have to be much faster on your timing. You got to really crank that button. You can't just kind of let it breathe like you could a jumping light kick. So you got to really keep that in mind. So if you're okay with getting a bit more space for a triangle jump or something like that, then, you know, jumping light kick's your man. But if you want as fast as possible, you have to go for triangle jumping light punch and make sure you're really quick on that either stand or crouch jab afterwards. That said, as far as general air dash stuff goes, as far as like a box jump, jump fierce kick's really great. It's got huge, fantastic range. And just like those jump fierce punches there, that last little bit here with his foot has a disjointed hitbox. So the laser part can hit, but there's a little bit of his hitbox past it, or rather the hitbox of the laser extends past the foot where there is no hitbox just yet. It's not as pronounced as jumping fierce punch, but it's there. And just the range, like I said, it's fantastic. Like, you can hit people from a fairly ridiculous distance away with it. And of course, you know, from there, you get your usual combo stuff, and, you know, it's fantastic. He kind of lacks in the cross-up department when it comes to the air dash, but it is what it is. But overall, I would say, you know, once again, gameplay is quite straightforward. I'm a real big fan of jumping repulsor ray light kick. You know, if it's blocked, like whatever, you can just tag out and just keep your pressure from there, and you got a little bit of a lockdown if it hits. As long as you're not ridiculously far away, you can get an OTG follow-up and full combo from there. So it's not going to be the same as like the usual B&B combo, because, you know, you already used up your ground bounce, but it's still going to be something. So, I don't know, it's difficult to say. I would say also this, heavy punch, not light punch, unibeam. It's really good when you got no other game plan, you're not necessarily beside the foe, or maybe you can just toss it out in the air, and whatever part of the screen the unibeam's on, he's going to own that part of the screen. It's going to delete everything. This durability is so much higher than basically any other projectile in the game, or even any other beam. But overall, yeah, this game plan is just fairly straightforward. You know, going to be a lot of box jumping to be sure. The jump jab comes out fast, so if you know people are just going to be belligerent, you know, say box jump at you, you can immediately box jump jab and cancel into a heavy punch and get your air combo from there. But overall, it's very straightforward. Can't really say much more than that. So that concludes our video for today. Like I said, Ironman's quite straightforward, but straightforward's never a bad thing. He's definitely got one of the better tag out level ones, and the proton cannon just, as you can see here, it's ridiculous, like how much screen this owns. So if you got a bar to burn, it's never the worst thing just to shoot out and have your partner, provided they're at least mixed up okay, They can provide some mix-up pressure because they're going to have, you know, a couple seconds to work with because this owns the screen. Like, unless they happen to be on top of you and maybe got crossed up or something, but otherwise, you know, it's going to own this part of the screen. That's great. And that, along with the LK air repulsor rays, is very linear. It's very straightforward. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's a very straightforward style play. He's got no cross-ups, really. You can't do anything with like this. He's got no weird like left-right unblockable kind of stuff or whatever. He's just straightforward as it gets, but that's not a bad thing. So I do want to say this is apparently my 100th Marvel video, so happy to do that. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video found you well. Go and play some Marvel.